Our show with a developing story. Our senior insider Shams Charania reported early this morning that Giannis Antetokounmpo expressed questions about the Bucks' ability to truly contend over the summer to his front office. Now, Shams also reported that as the two sides discussed a path forward, it became clear that there was another place that Giannis wanted to play outside of Milwaukee, and that was the New York Knicks. So Shams is here alongside our front office insider Bobby Marks. Shams, let's get into the details here. Just how serious were these talks between the New York Knicks and Milwaukee Bucks?
Malika, they were serious simply for the facts that sources told me that the New York Knicks emerged as the team in August that Giannis Antetokounmpo wanted to play for if he were to be traded outside of Milwaukee, if these two sides could reach agreement on a deal. And so the Bucks also picked up that phone call that the Knicks made. And I was told essentially from one source that this was an exclusive negotiating window that the Knicks had over multiple weeks in August. Leon Rose, the Knicks president, called John Horst, the Bucks general manager. These sides had multiple conversations. Offers were made. But there are two sides to this. The Bucks, I'm told, believe that the Knicks did not even offer a deal strong enough to continue these conversations. The Knicks believe, I'm told, that the Bucks never seriously considered a trade of Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer. And this all stems from the facts that Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Bucks still believe, is a guy that can help them right now win a championship. They still want to win with Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's what I'm told. John Horst told Giannis Antetokounmpo in their face-to-face meeting in late July that we can still win here with you, but clearly Giannis Antetokounmpo aired his level of concern as well with the roster, and so that's where these two sides are at. And people in New York have known, going back to 2024, that if this point ever came, Giannis Antetokounmpo might actually want to play in New York. So they've had knowledge that this is a possibility for a little bit of time here. They had a window, no deal.
I think we're about to get to a moment of truth, and I think we've got basically a one-year timeline when you look at the future of Giannis in Milwaukee here.
Yeah.
Here's a player, if we fast forward to next summer, is extension eligible. And that is going to show a lot of us what his commitment to the Milwaukee Bucks is going to be. Because we know that 4-year, $275 million extension is going to be there next summer. And if he doesn't sign that extension, or maybe if this team struggles during the course of this year, that Milwaukee front office is going to have to make a decision before Giannis comes to them and forces their hand.
Well, and something that Shams laid out in his story is that Giannis signed an extension with the Bucks in 2021. He signed another extension with the Bucks in 2023. But is the window closed here? We're heading into training camp. Giannis has just joined this team in Milwaukee. He said when he got there, he told reporters meeting with them in person for the first time, he's excited about the youth of this group. Is there still a pathway?
So for the Knicks exclusive window, that window has shut. When we talk about windows, let's shut that window, because if this ever comes about where Giannis Antetokounmpo going into the season, he's going to start considering his best external options, that window with the Knicks has closed. So you look around the league and he's going to continue, I'm told, to keep his options open and see how does the Bucks season start. The first quarter of the year is going to be very, very important. Stakeholders within the Bucks organization know this is somewhat of a make or break season for them. And his agent, Alex Saratzis at Octagon, he's been fielding rampant interest in Giannis since the May draft combine. He's going to be at the center of fielding and navigating this situation if it plays out into this season. Giannis, we know, when the year begins, he's going to be focused. His numbers are going to skyrocket this year with the burden that he's going to have. But it's going to come down to wins and losses. John Horst and the Bucks, they believe this is a championship quality roster. There's been some questions Giannis has raised. Results will show themselves.
And John Horst and Wes Edens is who you were just seeing on your screen right there, some of the Bucks brass and decision makers. As we say hello to our brass, Brian Windhorst and NBA champ Kendrick Perkins joining us here with a little bit more reaction to Shams' reporting. Brian, how are folks around the league digesting the idea that Giannis may be at some point available depending on this first quarter, right? So that puts us at about December.
Yeah, Malika, there's been an expectation for quite some time that Giannis's days in Milwaukee, one way or another, are numbered. Whether that was going to happen this year, whether it's going to happen potentially during this season, or whether it could happen next summer, as Bobby laid out there. And when you get to situations like this, I find it very useful to focus on actions over words. Let's look at the actions of the parties that we have discussed here. The Milwaukee Bucks waived and stretched Damian Lillard. That cost them $100 million in dead money on their books. Then they spent an additional $100 million to sign Miles Turner this summer. Those are not the actions of a team that is about to trade the best player they've had since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, okay? Then you look at the New York Knicks. Obviously, they knew it was possible that Giannis would be available, and we saw some teams this summer potentially hold back on moves with the idea that Giannis could be available. So the idea that you wouldn't be prepared for this kind of phone call, I don't think is true. And despite knowing that, the Knicks went ahead and extended Mikal Bridges, which significantly limited their ability to make a major trade. Again, that action indicates that they didn't think they were in position to make this type of trade right now. And let's go to Giannis. If you want to be traded as a star player that makes over $50 million a year in the apron era, especially if you have a small selection of teams that you want to be traded to, you do not ask for a trade or discuss a trade in August. Those discussions happen before the NBA offseason begins. That's not to say that a trade couldn't happen, but certainly he would have to understand that. So I definitely think the actions that we see indicate at some point Giannis could again be discussed with the Knicks or elsewhere. But I look at the actions here, and I don't think they were ever going to lead to a deal over the summer between New York and Milwaukee.
Not to mention listening to what Giannis has said since he joined the team joined Media Day via Zoom, joined the team. He said what is important to him is winning a championship. And that's sort of been the same story for Giannis since I covered him, for the last 8 years. Perk, what do you make of this?
That he's out.
Really?
He's out. Listen, I'm about 100% sure, and this is just me assuming, this is just coming straight from Perk, no sources, that we will not see Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Bucks uniform at the end of this season. I believe he's giving the Bucks an opportunity right now, privately, before he goes publicly. Now, if you'd asked me this a week ago, before my guy Shams did this reporting today, I would have said, nah, Giannis gonna be in the Bucks uniform. You know why? Because they signed his brother, Thanasis, back, right? But that was a signing of desperation to say, you know what, Giannis, here, we're doing everything we possibly can. But I believe it's time. And if I'm the Bucks, I also believe with this report coming out that the Bucks phones are going to be ringing here shortly, because we are talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. In my opinion, already a top 5 greatest power forward to ever play the damn game of basketball. One of the most dominant players to play, generational talent that is in the middle of his prime. The phone is ringing. I do not expect Giannis Antetokounmpo to be in the Milwaukee Bucks uniform by the end of the season.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm going to ring Mr. Bobby Marks here, because Shams reported in this story, right, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier on our show, that maybe the best deal wasn't fully put forward here from the New York Knicks, because also there was a thought that they didn't think that the Milwaukee Bucks maybe were fully 2 feet into making this discussion. So let's dive in, Bobby. Yeah. What could this look like if they were to make this?
Well, look at the history of Leon Rose, their president, as far as going out and trading for OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Karl Anthony Towns. Big ticket moves here. Now, the problem is when we look at the trade machine, what leaves them with one first-round pick. Remember, they are a first apron team. They cannot take back more money. So when you look at a player like Giannis who's making $54 million, they can't take back more money here. They can aggregate contracts in a deal. You can put OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, who can't be traded until February 1st, in a deal, but that's roughly $63 million. Now you're getting a third team involved. But look at where we're looking at it from a pick standpoint. One first available to go out and get probably the top 3 player in the NBA. That's where it gets complicated. You're getting a third team or a fourth team in here. I would say this from New York's perspective. When a player like Giannis becomes available, you basically have everybody on the table. You're basically saying pick for what you want. Now it's a matter of getting the money to work in a type of deal. When you're looking at it, certainly from Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, they have the sweet spot contract, but it's a matter of getting a third team involved, and it certainly does get complicated.
They can't be traded till the 1st, and the deadline is the 5th.
And here's the other thing. Yes, correct. Here's the other thing. We all can agree this team in Cleveland are probably the prohibitive favorite in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Do you want to tinker what you already have with this roster to go out and get this shiny toy here?
And that's the 2-lane approach that the Knicks have taken, right? On one hand, the Knicks are like, we have a chance potentially to get Giannis Antetokounmpo, something we've been eyeing and something we've known is a possibility since last year, as I reported earlier today. But on the other hand, they've made these moves, Mikal Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns. They've depleted most of their asset base. Their non-player assets are pretty much decimated to try to win a championship now. And so they feel like they have the pieces right now where they can compete clearly for a championship, which is why there's some people in Milwaukee that feel like they didn't put their best foot forward in this potential deal scenario in August. But that exclusive window's shut. I will say this, Giannis Antetokounmpo, his camp, they are going to have a grip on this league to an extent now. There are teams that are going to continue to monitor it, and they're going to ensure that they don't exhaust themselves in other ways if this seismic trade possibility is still available for them in January or February.
Perk, last word here.
I mean, and also you look on the Milwaukee Bucks side of things, right? It seemed like, Giannis, heart is elsewhere, in my opinion. Like he, in my opinion, if you look at this roster, are they a championship roster? No. Does Miles Turner help them? Absolutely. But at what point do you start to consider, if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, from moving on from Giannis? And I know that's a hard thing to fathom and think about, but at the end of the day, you want to do what's best for the organization, but also while Giannis is hot, you want to make sure you're able to get back the pieces. But I do think the end is near. I don't expect Giannis to be in the Milwaukee Bucks uniform by the end of this season.
Well, the video you were just seeing is Giannis back on the floor with the team here in Miami, where he rejoined this group. If you listen to what Giannis has said, he has said all of the right things. He has complimented the moves they have made over the summer. He said, yes, I like that we have gotten younger, and let's see what happens here. This is what we know for sure. Giannis wants to win another championship. Where and how that happens, that's what is going to play out here. We got a lot to get to on this.
Towns to South Beach and joining Miami Heat is going to give me the best opportunity to win.
15 years later, LeBron James teased his social media followers with the second decision. But everyone can relax. It was just a commercial, but that didn't stop basketball fans around the world from freaking out a little bit, just for a couple of hours. This is just a snapshot of some of the reactions, and it gave us all a moment to consider what the moment will eventually look like. Because at Media Day, LeBron said, quote, I don't know when the end is, but I know that it's a lot sooner than later. And for a hot second, fans thought that sooner might be right now, because the Lakers' final game of the season, it's at home against the Jazz on April 12th. And the least expensive ticket for that game, it jumped from $82 to $580 after LeBron's post, according to Vivid Seats. Our Dave McMenamin is at the Lakers practice facility in El Segundo. That was one heck of a fake out by LeBron, Dave. How many text messages did you get from folks wondering what this was? 20? 30?
Yeah, it was in the 20 to 30 range for sure.
20 to 30 range for sure. I was one of those text messages. But the real question, it's going to come at some point, right? What has the reaction been so far to this decision 2.0?
Well, listen, Malika, if you think back to the summertime, there was another ad that LeBron was a part of where the tagline was, what's next? And now that you have the decision 2.0, it shows that LeBron and his decision makers are playing with the idea of the unknown perception of what is going to be the end of his career. Is retirement looming this year? Is he going to extend with the Lakers? Or is he going to go somewhere else and play season 24 and beyond? And I think the fact that they are toying with it and acknowledging it through these ads is saying something in itself. That is why you're having Rob Pelinka going into the season saying stuff like, I think it'd be a great thing if LeBron James would be to retire a Laker, because it's so imminent that you can't even avoid it in his commercial opportunities he has off the court.
Right. There was a time in which it would be inconceivable, not to quote the Princess Bride, but it would have been inconceivable to think of LeBron making a joke about the decision, something that for years afterwards he spent a lot of time thinking about whether or not that was the right mechanism. And now that time has arrived. Let's turn the page to something that we know is happening right now, Dave, and that's Luka's first full training camp with the Lakers. He hasn't played yet in the preseason, but what are his plans for the remainder of camp here?
Well, certainly the Lakers expect to have him on the court for maybe 2 or even 3 of the remaining 4 preseason games, and he'll get some reps with his new teammates and also get reacquainted with the guys he played with the end of last year. But part of the thing that Luka lamented at the end of last year,